Paddy Pimblett just called himself something no fighter has ever claimed before, the greatest of all time at weight cutting. And after everything fans have said about his size between fights, this might be one of the boldest things he's ever said on camera. Stick around, because his explanation for why he's earned that title is honestly more interesting than you'd expect. Welcome back to the channel, bringing you every major UFC and MMA story as it happens, straight to your feed wherever you're watching from, the US, the UK, Canada, and right across Europe. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button now, because we cover the stories behind the headlines that most channels don't touch. And if you've got a second before we get into it, smash that like button. It genuinely helps this video reach more fight fans just like you. Now let's get into exactly what Paddy Pimblett said, and why he's so confident calling himself the greatest weight cutter the sport has ever seen. For years, Paddy Pimblett has been one of the most talked about fighters in the UFC, not just for his personality and his fighting style, but for how much his body changes between fight camps. Fans have made an entire running conversation out of how much weight the Baddy appears to gain outside of camp, only to show up looking completely different once fight week rolls around. It's become one of those recurring storylines that follows him from one fight to the next, with critics and casual fans alike questioning his approach to conditioning and weight management. But here's the thing that often gets lost in that conversation. No matter how much attention his off-camp physique draws, Pimblett has never once missed weight for a fight in the UFC. Not a single time. Every camp, every fight week, he stepped on that scale and made the lightweight limit, no matter how much doubt gets thrown his way in the months leading up to it. And in a recently released behind-the-scenes YouTube video documenting his preparation for UFC 329, Pimblett and his team gave fans a detailed, honest look at exactly how that process works, and it's clear he's incredibly proud of it. Throughout the video, Pimblett walks through the days leading up to the fight, and by all accounts, this particular cut looked about as smooth as it gets. He stayed in high spirits the entire time, showing very little of the visible struggle that so many fighters go through in the final days before hitting the scale. And it's in the middle of documenting that process that Pimblett drops the line that's now got the entire MMA community talking. He looks straight at the camera and declares himself the GOAT of weight cutting. It's a bold statement, and Pimblett doesn't just say it and move on, he actually breaks down why he believes it's true. According to him, the secret isn't some special diet trick or hidden method. It comes down to discipline and mental strength, plain and simple. He explains that the real work happens throughout the entire fight camp, not just in the final days before weigh-ins. If you stay disciplined the whole way through, the actual cut becomes far more manageable by the time fight week arrives. And he backs that philosophy up with results. Every single time he's stepped into the octagon, he's made weight. That explanation alone is worth sitting with for a second, because it reframes the entire conversation people have been having about Pimblett's weight for years. Instead of treating the cut as some kind of last-minute scramble, Pimblett is describing it as a discipline that's built over months, not days. Whether or not you buy into the GOAT title he's giving himself, there's something to be said about a fighter who's willing to be this transparent about his process, especially when he knows the criticism is coming either way. And that criticism is exactly what Pimblett addressed next. He didn't hold back when it came to the people who constantly comment on his weight between fights. In the video, he made it clear he's tired of the conversation, essentially telling critics to drop the subject entirely. His message was blunt. He doesn't want to hear about his weight anymore, full stop. It's a pretty direct response from a fighter who's clearly aware of exactly how much attention this topic follows him around, fight after fight. But Pimblett didn't stop at just defending himself. He also used the moment to lay out what he sees as the real key to surviving a hard weight cut mentally. He explained that once a fighter starts feeling sorry for themselves during the process, that's the moment the mental battle is already lost. In his eyes, complaining during a cut is basically surrender. He was blunt about it, laying down what he called rule number 1, no complaining, full stop. If you start feeling sorry for yourself midway through a hard cut, according to Pimblett, it's already over for you mentally. That mindset says a lot about how Pimblett actually approaches his career, beyond just the weight conversation. He's positioning discipline and mental toughness as the real separator between fighters who make weight consistently and fighters who struggle with it. And he's essentially challenging anyone who criticizes his off-camp physique to understand that the real test isn't how he looks in the months before a fight. It's whether he can lock in and deliver when fight week actually arrives. And by that measure, it's hard to argue with his results. At UFC 329, Pimblett backed up every bit of that confidence with a genuinely dominant performance, submitting Benoit St. Denis in under a minute to move himself right back into lightweight title contention. It wasn't just a win. It was the kind of statement finish that instantly shuts down a huge chunk of the criticism that follows him around, at least for the moment. Whatever people want to say about how he looks outside of camp, there's no denying that when it mattered most, he showed up in incredible form and delivered one of the most impressive performances of his entire career. That combination, the disciplined talk, the blunt response to critics, and then immediately backing it up with a dominant win, is exactly why this story has taken off the way it has. Pimblett isn't just making a bold claim for attention. He's making it right after delivering one of the best performances of his career, which gives the whole conversation a lot more weight, no pun intended. It's one thing to call yourself the greatest at something with nothing to back it up. It's another thing entirely to make that claim in the same breath as a highlight reel finish that instantly reminds everyone why he's one of the most must-watch fighters in the entire lightweight division. Before we get further into what this means for his career going forward, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, do you buy Pimblett's claim that he's the GOAT of weight cutting, or do you think the criticism about his off-camp weight is still fair regardless of how disciplined his cuts actually are? I read every single comment, so let me know exactly where you stand. And if you're enjoying this breakdown so far, go ahead and hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel reach more fans who love this kind of deep dive. It's also worth zooming out and thinking about why this entire storyline exists in the first place. Weight cutting has always been one of the most controversial and heavily scrutinized parts of combat sports. Fans have watched fighters go through genuinely dangerous cuts over the years, missing weight, showing up visibly drained, or in the worst cases, ending up hospitalized trying to make a number on a scale. Against that backdrop, it makes sense that any fighter whose weight fluctuates dramatically between camps is going to draw extra attention and extra concern from fans who have seen how badly these situations can go for other athletes in the sport. But Pimblett's actual track record tells a different story than the visual conversation around him. He's never missed weight. He's never had a cut go publicly wrong. Every single time he's needed to make lightweight, he's made it, and often followed that up with performances that suggest the cut didn't drain him the way critics assume it does. That disconnect between how dramatic his weight swings look from the outside and how consistently smooth his actual weigh-ins and performances have been is exactly what makes his GOAT claim at least worth taking seriously, even if it sounds outrageous on the surface. There's also something to be said about how Pimblett handles the mental side of all of this publicly. A lot of fighters keep their weight cut struggles private, only showing the finished product on fight night. Pimblett, by contrast, has built an entire content strategy around showing fans the process, the discipline, the mindset, the day-to-day grind of getting ready for a fight. That transparency is part of what's made him one of the most popular fighters in the entire promotion. Fans don't just see the highlight reel finishes. They see the process behind them, which makes moments like this GOAT declaration land differently than if some other fighter had simply said it out of nowhere. And that transparency cuts both ways. By showing fans exactly how disciplined his approach is throughout camp, Pimblett is essentially inviting the criticism to stop on his own terms, using his own evidence. He's not asking people to just trust him. He's showing the actual process, then backing it up with a clean weigh-in and a dominant win, and daring anyone to still make the same tired argument about his conditioning. Whether or not that fully silences the critics long-term, it's clearly working in the short term, especially with a performance like UFC 329 fresh in everyone's memory. Looking at where Pimblett's career stands right now, this moment feels like more than just a viral soundbite. He's back in the title conversation after that finish. He's clearly locked in mentally heading into these camps, and he's now got a very public, very confident answer ready for anyone who wants to bring up his weight again. Whether the lightweight division agrees with the GOAT label or not, one thing seems certain. Pimblett isn't backing down from the conversation, and he's using his own results as the receipts. So here's what I want to know from you before we wrap up. Do you think Paddy Pimblett has genuinely earned the right to call himself the GOAT of weight cutting given his perfect track record of making weight? Or do you think that title is still a stretch no matter how disciplined his camp actually is? And does his response to the critics change how you see the whole weight conversation around him going forward? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I want to see this discussion take off. That's everything Paddy Pimblett said about being the GOAT of weight cutting, why he's finally clapping back at years of criticism, and how his performance at UFC 329 backs up every bit of that confidence. This is one of those stories that's going to keep fans talking for a while, and you can count on this channel to bring you every update as this conversation continues. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you for watching through. It genuinely helps this channel grow more than you'd think. Hit that like button right now if you enjoyed this breakdown. Subscribe if you haven't already so you never miss a major UFC or MMA story, and drop a comment letting me know exactly where you stand on Pimblett's GOAT claim. We've got a lot more breakdowns and fighter reactions coming very soon, so stay subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one.